Hello everyone, my name is Eitan Capuano. I'm from Mexico City and I'm currently a senior at ITAM. I'm studying business and finance and I'm really excited to be here. Especially, I'm excited to be joined by an amazing personality, Noam Bardin. Noam studied economics in the Hebrew University. He then did an MPA in the Harvard School of Government. He then went on and became a co-founder of Delta 3. After that, Noam became the CEO of Waze, one of the most helpful navigations app in the world. I can tell you about it because in Mexico City, the streets are a mess, so we love Waze and probably use it every day. But without further ado, I think it would be better to hear more about this from Noam. So, welcome, Noam. Great to have you here.
It's great to be here. And I'm also a big fan of Mexico, so it works well.
Happy to hear that. So, you grew up in Israel, studied at Harvard, worked at Google before becoming the CEO of Waze. Can you tell us a bit about your story?
That's not exactly the timeline. So I grew up in Israel, went to the army in Israel, did my undergrad in Israel, got into startups in 96 when I co-founded a company called Delta 3. It was one of the first voice of RP companies. It's kind of the beginning of the internet. Took the company public on NASDAQ, went through the roller coaster of 99, 2000, and then 2001 and everything. After that, I got my MPA from Harvard. My original plan was to go save the world, and I got distracted by tech. And then went back to Israel, tried to save the world a little bit, realized that it's not what I want to do, at least now, or then, I guess. Joined a company called Intercast as CEO, ran it for 2 years, terrible mistake, had to shut the company down, and then joined Waze in 2009 when the product had just been launched in Israel. And obviously we took it globally from there. In case a lot of you know the story, we sold the company to Google in 2013. And since then, I've been a VP product at Google, basically running Waze. I've done some other things at Google, primarily running Waze. And the end of January, I'm actually leaving off to do my next thing, which I don't know what it is, but that's the next stage.
So many people don't know, but Waze began with a stubborn and pissed off Israeli, or just basically any Israeli. So can you tell us the story about how it all started, how it came to mind, and how it came from there to what's right now?
Yeah, so Waze was founded by Ehud Shabtai, an Israeli engineer who he got a PDA, it's an HPI pack. It's hard for people today to imagine, but it used to be that you had these digital devices that you would connect to your computer and sync them. They didn't have any access to anything. And that was before smartphones were out. And his girlfriend gave him one, and it had some navigation software on it. And he got really excited. It's the first time he'd actually navigated with the GPS and everything. And so he began, looking around. He found some APIs, and he built an app that allowed you to save speed cameras where they were. And he gave it away for free on a forum of IPAC users. And he started marking all the cameras in Israel and sending back the data to him. He would sync it all very manually in the beginning. And then he got a cease and desist letter from the Israeli map company. And he went to this meeting with them where he said, look, I don't understand. I'm giving it away for free. People like it. What's the issue? And in true Israeli fashion, they said, no, you can't give this away for free. You can sell it and we'll take a percent of the money, but you can't use our map for free. So he basically said, screw you, and deleted the map. And he started using the original team, the original people, to begin building their own map. And at the time, there were only two maps in the world. It was Navteq and TeleAtlas. There was no Google Maps, none of that. And we're talking about Symbian phones. It was a very different world. But they built this out themselves, the community. And he saw the power of a community from there. And at a certain point, it began growing. And he and Amir basically rolled this into a real company. Up to that point, it had been a project on Ehud's balcony, which is the Israeli version of a garage. And that became Waze and rolled out from there.
Okay, I can imagine building such an app without the smartphone as we know it. That's just impressive. So you've said before that the Israeli culture is what allowed a small team to develop this product, and also it's what almost brought its collapse. So can you tell us more about that, and how would you define the Israeli culture?
The Israeli culture is perfectly suited for startups, right? If you think about the Israeli culture, it's about doing things very, very differently, very quickly, in non-conventional ways, and combined with a very deep tech, and really not only the Israelis not fear tech, they kind of enjoy technical challenges. And so when Waze got started, we were told by everyone that what we're doing could not happen. The only way to build maps was to take thousands of trucks, drive every road in the world, every year with cameras and professional GPSs and thousands of employees. That's how maps were built. So one of the things we did, we didn't actually hire engineers that came from the GIS space, because they would just explain to us why what we're doing couldn't work. And instead we hired very smart computer scientists, and they learned the space. And we went ahead and we built this product that was driven by a community, built by a community, became global. And we never let the conventional wisdom of you can only do things this way get anywhere in the way of our plans to roll things out from there onwards. And I think one of the interesting things about Israel, and it's a similar trait for Finland and other of these small countries, we don't have a local market. We have 8 million people in Israel. That's not a market, however you look at it. So if you take an average entrepreneur in China or in America, you ask them, the small unit of measurement they can think of is hundreds of millions, because that's what their market is. So they don't need to think about the world globally. They can just think about their market. But in Israel, since we don't have a market, we have to be export-oriented day one. So startups that are founded in Germany or the UK tend to serve their local markets and not become global because they can. Startups that happen in Israel have to be global because we have no market. And so from day one, it was very obvious for us that we're building a product for the whole world, that we're building it globally, that we're going to allow people in different languages, different cultures to do this. And one of the great things about Waze, because it's community driven, there are local people in every country, every city that manage the map. And this is why Waze feels so personal and so local. Now, if you go to Brazil, people think Waze is a Brazilian company. If you go to France, they think it's a French company. Very few people know it's an Israeli company because, again, it feels so local. And this is really part of the power of a community.
Now we have students listening from all over the world, which is really amazing. And some are longtime fans of your company. Some may be interested in being entrepreneurs. So if you could give a direct message or an advice for us growing students, future professionals, future entrepreneurs, to actually do something that changes the world for the better, what would you say to all of us listening right now?
First thing I would say is don't start a startup. The odds of succeeding in a startup are very, very, very low. So when you go and found something, it has to be because you have a passion for doing that, knowing that you're probably going to fail, and you think it's important enough to do it anyway. I think today money is very easy to raise, and I think a lot of people are starting startups because they can, not because this is what they want or they have an important message or mission they want to be on in the world, but rather a bunch of people getting together saying, oh, we want to do a startup, let's figure out what. So I think what I do think, though, if you do want to go down this path, I would highly recommend starting out, not right out of college, starting your own startup, but actually starting in a major company and then in a major startup. You want to learn or get your MBA on someone else's dime. You don't want to do it on yourself. And there's nothing more powerful than experience in this space. And so, again, unless you know exactly what that mission is and you've been thinking about it for your whole life, you're just waiting to finish your undergrad to start doing it, take a step back, work in either someone else's startup, someone who's more experienced, and learn from it, or go work in a large technology company for a while and learn from it. But at the same time, remember that you're trying to get to a startup in terms of where you're going. So don't get caught up in that culture of promotions, of growing. No, you need a small amount of time to get the most amount of your experience. Last thing I would say, there's a push, especially lately in the tech space, about this kind of work-life balance. And people saying that I want to be able to also do yoga, and I also want to go rock climbing, and I also want to start a startup, and I also want to be well compensated, and life doesn't work that way. You need to decide what's important for you. If what's important for you is a career, you're going to have to work really, really hard. If you're expecting to work easily, to take your time and go to yoga, that's fine, but don't expect to promote yourself very fast. And this is the one thing I think bothers me a lot about younger people that I see entering the workforce is this expectation that they can have it all. They don't need to sacrifice anything. Everything should come to me. This entitled idea that, well, because I graduated from Harvard, I am amazing and everyone should give me everything. And no, you have to understand what's important for you and you have to let that drive what you're doing. And if you really want to build a startup or you want to have a successful career in a large company, whatever, you need to work extremely hard and you need to sacrifice some of your personal life. That's the balance. Work-life balance doesn't mean having a lot of time at home. It means balancing the home and work. And so I think that's something everyone should remember and be very clear what your goals are. And if your goals are success in the business world or in your company, there's no shortcuts. You have to work hard at it. So I think that's something to think about very clearly, like what's more important for you. And the time to do this is when you're young, right? That's the time where you can do the most. And last thing I would say is we spend so much time at work. Choose something that you really believe in and that you want to do. Now, I'm not saying this in a naive sense of go follow your dreams, right? You need to be able to make money. You need to be able to be intellectually stimulated, right? But you're going to be spending so much of your life at work that if you find something that you love, your life's going to be great. If you find something that you hate, your life will be terrible. Right? Work is a huge portion of your life, and don't take it lightly. Don't take a job for the wrong reasons. That's a mistake I've always done. I think the last point is, and this is very hard for Harvard graduates, you really have to stay humble in life. You are not special. There are many, many other people just like you. You happen to have had a lot of luck to be where you are, okay? But we are all humans in this together. And we have to remember that. The fact that we got a job at a fancy place or the fact that we went to a fancy university or whatever it is that makes us feel that we're so special, right? We are not. And we have to be able to put the good of the product, of the user, of the company before our own. No one owes you anything in this world. You need to earn whatever it is you're going to earn. And I think there's a risk that you all have of coming out really feeling overly entitled. And your life is going to be pretty miserable if that's how you feel, how you go through things. But at the same time, if you view things from the position of, I want to make things better, I want to help, versus I want people to know that I helped, right? I can guarantee your career will be better and your life will be better. And again, we're all in this world together. And empathy for other people is something that's really, really sorely lacking these days. So remember that as you start your lives, remember to have the empathy for the other person and to really think through why you're doing things and make sure you're doing the right thing for you.
Thank you so much for that. I think we're going to have a lot to reflect on because it means a lot coming from someone with experience and seeing it from another side that probably we as students are blinded to it. So we're going to have a lot to think about and for our future and for the future of the world, especially in these trying times for everyone. But besides that, I think it was an amazing conversation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, for all your advice, for the stories. And it really means a lot to us as students to be listening from people like you, from persons like you that have achieved a lot, has a lot of experience, and probably will learn so much from this. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.